Hello guys, back with another video, and today we are going to be watching Zachty films for the first time, and let's see the most recent.
Remove the bladder.
Hello guys, what's up? Back with another video, and today we are going to be reacting to Zachty films for the first time. And yeah, we're gonna go from popular to the most popular. Yeah, the first one is.
When you get stitches, a doc.
Yuck. What the? Yuck. I don't want to get stitches anymore.
Doctor threads a needle through your wound and pulls it tight to close the skin. As the stitches hold the edges together, the wound becomes inflamed as new cells begin to repair the tissue. Afterwards, connective tissues and collagen start to create.
What the? Is that oil? I need to turn this up a bit. Like, yuck. What the hell is that?
Skin. Then, blood vessels form to nourish these developing tissues, filling in the area. And over a few weeks, the wound will have healed together and the stitches are removed. When you get
really hurt my brain.
If you get a splinter, most people just go ahead and pull them out. But sometimes they get lodged so deep into your skin that you can't reach them. If the area gets infected, it will start to swell as pus forms under the skin. This creates pressure around the splinter that can sometimes push it upwards towards the skin's surface. And if you're lucky, after a certain period of time, your body could have completely removed it from your skin. Have you ever noticed how odd the McFlurry spoon is? Well,
Honestly, no. I just get the normal spoons, like what you get for like an ice cream. But like in America, they probably use those. But yeah.
People think it's supposed to work like a straw, but you only have to try that once to realize it does not work. The true reason for these weird spoons is actually pretty genius. You see, McDonald's didn't want to clean their beaters after every McFlurry, so instead, they designed a spoon that would also work as the mixer. Have you ever noticed how odd the McFlurry? If you shot a bullet at ancient armor,
then it's gonna protect you, or you're gonna die.
People think it could actually stop the impact. But armor like chainmail was designed to block slashing swords. And plate armor was even better at deflecting strikes, by spreading the blunt force across more area, lessening its impact. But these materials weren't very good at stopping arrows, which had enough energy to enter the armor, so a bullet would have no trouble going right through. If you somehow removed all of the blood vessels in your...
So first of all, you're dead. Second of all, that is fucking so cursed.
Body and tied them together, you might think it would be about this long. But the human body has thousands of these tiny vessels that weave in and out of every body part. And with all of them combined, if you started in New York, your blood vessels would make it all the way to the Grand Canyon. It would go on to reach all the way across the Pacific Ocean, over Japan, Asia, and all of Europe. And not only would it make it all the way back to your starting point, but it would be able to make this trip 2 to 4 times over. If you somehow...
So I can fit the whole fucking earth in my fucking little body? Nah, that's just crazy, honestly.
You might think it would be When a doctor gives you a shot, they can sometimes accidentally push the needle all the way through your vein, which ends up puncturing both sides. Once the needle is removed, it leaves 2 holes in the vein. And before the body can thicken the blood and seal these holes, it bleeds into the surrounding tissues. This leaked blood forms a dark, tender area under the skin, creating bruises and splotchy areas.
So you can just sue like a doctor for that. That's just like I wanted to get a needle so I can get my arm fixed. And he just stabbed my blood vessel, and now he's making like this stinging thing right here. No, but how would you... Oh, I guess.
If everyone on Earth clipped their...
Zach D Films? What the fuck are you... What the fuck? Look, he even put a... like throwing up emoji at the end. But what the fuck were you thinking? Yuck.
Toenails and threw them into the ocean. You might think they'd float and blanket a huge area, but toenails don't actually float, so they
Do I care? Fuck no.
pile up at the bottom of the ocean. As over 82 billion clippings rain down, it would choke fish and smother the seafloor until a massive pile broke through the surface. And after this global clipping, you would have a walkable toenail island, 10 times bigger than Central Park. If everyone on Earth...
Luckily it's not that big though.
When a firing squad shoots a prisoner, one of the bullets actually isn't real. You see, one of the rifles is loaded with a blank, but it still fires and kicks back when the trigger is pulled. The soldiers aren't told which rifle it is, casting doubt on who actually shot and killed the man. This way, the soldiers can feel less guilty and sleep at night, knowing there was a chance that they weren't the one to kill him. When a fire... Have you ever wondered how this trick is done? It's one of those things where you know he can't... If you lose one... Have you ever...
On and then they pour it in with salt and then like... You can see like the thumb going in his fingers, and then
Wondered how this trick is done? It's one of those things where you know he can't actually be making the salt disappear, but it's still confusing to look at. Well, it turns out that the simplest explanation is the right one. Look closely at his hand during this shot. Do you notice how he sort of grabs his thumb here? Well, this is because he's using a prop called a Dofi finger. He holds it in his fist like a cup, fills it up with the salt, gets it onto his other thumb, and then grabs it off his thumb back into the first position. Watch it again and see if you can notice. Have you ever if you lose one of your adult teeth, the bone...
Then you just replace it with a metal tooth. Marble.
Where the tooth once was can start to deteriorate. To prevent further damage, a dentist will fill the cavity with a synthetic material that mimics real bone. Once filled, a metal bracket is secured on top and the incision is closed. After the graft has healed, a large implant post is inserted into the new bone. Then a small metal piece is screwed in and a porcelain tooth is secured on top. They opened the pallet of ammunition only to find it was full of Tootsie Rolls. You see, Tootsie Roll was a code name.
Well, why would they send like little lollies to the military?
For mortar rounds, which the Marines desperately needed. But the radio operator who received the order didn't know that and sent the actual candy instead.
Oh, they were meant to send the bomb. Not the candy.
At first, the Marines were angry, but the sub-freezing temperatures had frozen all their food, and the candies ended up sustaining.
So they're gonna eat them all, and the rest until they find their new bombs.
Cleaning them over the next few days. They even used them to plug bullet holes by warming them up and letting them freeze in place. And eventually, the real mortar rounds did arrive.
Interesting.
They opened the... If you accidentally
No, but why would they?
touched a table saw, you'd probably
Say goodbye to your finger. Good.
think your fingers would be cut off. But this isn't always the case. You see, some modern high-end saws actually know the difference between wood and your skin. Once your finger comes in contact with these special saws, it immediately detects the electrical conductivity from your skin. This triggers an immediate mechanical response that stops the blade in less than 5 milliseconds. If you
But what if we stick the finger in less than 5 milliseconds?
When a honeybee stings a human, they actually
The bee is dead and you're just stinging in pain.
Have you ever wondered, when a honeybee stings a human, they actually get stuck for a while and can't leave. And this is because their stinger is barbed, which means it can't retract once it's lodged into something.
Everyone knows that there.
But once the bee finally pulls away, its insides get ripped out because the stinger stays in the skin. This leaves the bee without some of its internal organs, resulting in its death. When a honeybee stings a human, they actually get stuck for a while and can't leave. And this is because their stinger is barbed, which means it... Have you ever wondered about this little dangly thing at
It's to help your food going down and not going up to your nose.
the back of your throat? Well, even though it looks like a miniature punching bag, it actually serves a handful of important functions. You see, when you swallow food, this thing called a uvula actually swings backwards to prevent the food from going up your nose. It's also constantly producing saliva to keep the throat moist, which aids in swallowing. And because there's a tiny muscle inside the uvula, it can move around, which helps you speak. Have you ever wondered about this little dangly thing at the back of your... A red-hot iron is pushed into the tree, wounding it
Why?
on purpose. Then a syringe filled with salt water is emptied inside the hole. This causes the tree to flood the damaged area with sticky resin to stop the damage. And over the next few years, the resin slowly spreads, turning into a sweet-smelling wood deep inside the trunk. Finally, it's harvested and sold for thousands of dollars per pound before being made into a luxury perfume.
No, but what would you think? We have to get a flamethrower, burn it through a tree, and put some water in it. Wait a couple of years, chop it in half, and then we're gonna make a sweet-smelling wood. Clock.
If you stuck a long sword out of a car aiming for a tree, the sword would obviously snap and rip from your hands. But what if the sword is unbreakable? You have an indestructible grip and your body is physically immovable. Well, the force would then transfer to the car. It would screech to a halt as the sword hits. But what if the car can't stop and is forced to keep moving? Now the tree should split in half. But if the tree is indestructible too, with no way to break, bend, or stop, the energy has nowhere to escape. Would this unleash a massive shockwave as powerful as a nuclear explosion? Or worse, something reality itself isn't equipped to contain? If you stuck
I don't know.
If you're stuck in a water slide that's filling up with water, most people think they should try to climb back up. But the slippery surface makes this nearly impossible. Instead, focus on staying calm and try to create space for air by tilting your head back. If water keeps rising, use your hands to push yourself forward. If you can't move, brace yourself as the water fills the slide entirely. Once the pressure equalizes, you may be able to push forward and float to safety. If you're stuck in a imagine waking up in a coffin and realizing that you were mistakenly
Could that be like a bell near the grave? Or is it not? Am I tripping?
Buried alive. Now, this wouldn't happen with the medical
How do you trigger the bell?
guidelines we have today. But in the 19th century, old coffins were found with scratch marks on the inside, making this a legitimate concern. So as a solution, they started adding strings inside the coffins that traveled up to the ground and were connected to a little bell. And if you woke up underground in a coffin, you could just ring the bell, signaling that you're still alive. Imagine if you're trapped in the trunk of a vehicle, you should immediately start searching for the glow-in-the-dark release hatch. If you don't see the latch, don't panic. Trunks are not airtight, so there's no risk of running out of oxygen. Try feeling around the edges of the trunk for a handle. This may allow you to release the seat back. As a last resort, kick out one of the brake lights. This small opening will allow you to signal for help. If you're trapped, when you use a derma roller, it pushes a bunch of tiny needles into your face, creating small punctures across the surface. Your brain perceives these small holes as wounds, which triggers your body's natural healing response. The body then sends out cells to make collagen and elastin, which helps your skin stay firm and stretchy. Over time, these cells strengthen the skin, giving a firmer and more youthful appearance. A tiny nail is placed inside the drilled hole. Then it's glued shut and repainted. This makes one side of the die heavier, causing the opposite side to land face up more often, allowing you to cheat. Another method is heating the die slightly, with the number you want pointing upwards. As it cools down, the melted part settles unevenly, which changes its balance, making it more likely to land on your chosen number. And sometimes, certain sides of the die are shaved down to make them flatter. The flatter side doesn't roll as easily, making it land on the bottom with the number you want facing up. A tiny nail is placed. If you get a skin tag, some people think you can just rip them off yourself, but you actually shouldn't do this. You see, skin tags are connected to your body by a thin piece of tissue, and if you looked inside of it, the tag actually has its own nerves and blood vessels. Ripping it off would cause significant bleeding, and the open wound would be susceptible to infection. Instead, if you want them removed, a doctor can freeze them off with liquid nitrogen, which is a better option. Have you ever wondered why the letter E isn't used to grade? Teachers use A, B.
Because there's no, because there's no, like, bad, things to say for A. That stands for A, like. I mean, aggressive is, but like anything. Yeah.
A, C, D, and F, but they skip
Or is it because that the teachers don't know the alphabet?
E. Why is this? Well, the answer is actually pretty simple. You see, back in the day, schools did use the letter E, but in the 1930s, they decided to stop after students and parents thought that it meant excellent. It was quickly replaced with F, because F for failed made more sense. The soldier's foot would break through a hidden bamboo slat and into a hole if they stepped onto a cartridge trap. Inside, a bullet was positioned on top of a nail that was fastened to wood. Hit this shell. It pushed the nail into the primer. This caused the shell to suddenly explode and shoot back up at the soldier. The soldier's foot would break through a hidden
I think I have enough of watching, of getting disturbed. If you enjoyed me getting disturbed, make sure you smash the like button, subscribe, so you got to the next video. Goodbye, which will be tomorrow.